Welcome to Storycomic Presents, where we interview amazing storytellers and artists. This is episode 107. I'm your host, Barney Smith of Storycomic.com, and we're excited to have with us the highly talented children's book author, Rhonda J Jenkins.
That's me.
Rhonda, how you doing?
Fantabulous.
And you're coming straight from, you're in Central Time, right? Central Time.
Correct. Yes, we're in North Alabama Central Time.
Okay, fantastic. How is it down there? Is it, you guys
You know what? It's Hades in the summer. It's been extremely humid. Like you can stand still and just drip with sweat. But thank the good Lord, today it turned off super cool. I spent the whole day in my sunroom working on my book launch. So it's nice.
Yes, and we're going to talk about your book. This is exciting stuff. You just came out with your first book. Your first book is out.
Yes.
And right now you can get it on, you can get it on Amazon if you want to, but you're doing a Kickstarter as well with it?
Yes, I started the Kickstarter because I found out about it kind of late to try to help raise funds for it.
Right.
So because the funding I need is to buy the books and all that.
Right.
Because I don't want to be in debt, you know,
yes.
Because you want to buy a bunch of books up front so that when you do your book launch, you do book signings and all that jazz.
Right.
And so the book launch is actually October 1st and 2nd at a local thing we have. They've been having it now for 57 years called Harvest Fest. Okay. So I'll have a 10 by 10 booth outside. So yeah, so I have the hardback book, the paperback book, and also there is a coloring / activity book.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. And so Rhonda, talk to us about the book. You have it. It's called, no, you corrected me before we went live. You wanted to make sure I said it right. So it's Two Girls in Pajamas for Their Mamas.
That's it.
Okay. I got it. Okay. And what was your inspiration behind this?
Oh, wow. So it's really cool. So this book has been umpteen years in the making.
Okay.
So, my daughter is 21 now and getting married in 3 weeks. So this was 12 years ago. She was about 9 years old. Oh, wow. And she just had a fresh bath, was in her pajamas, and I was in my pajamas. And so I sat her in my lap and it just come out. And I love to make lyrics and rhymes and poems and stories my whole entire life. And so I said, we're just two girls in pajamas. And then I like to rhyme and add stuff. So I said, for their mamas. And she and I were the only ones there. My mom wasn't there at the time. So anyway, so then it just kind of stuck with me. And then I sat down and just started writing things down. And because I want to make everything rhyme, I started making it rhyme. Well, I had half the story written, right? Literally sat in a drawer for 4 years. Did not touch it. Because I went back to college to become a physical therapist assistant and was working then once I graduated. So I just didn't even mess with it. And then I thought, well, I'm going to take that back out. I really should do something with that. So I took it back out and finished it, made it all rhyme and everything. Because, I was trying to think, okay, I need to speak in words and language and not big words that little kids will understand. Right. And then it sat around again for another 4 or 5 years. Well, then about 7 years ago, I was talking with a self-publishing company, but my mother was sick in the hospital, real bad sick. She's in the hospital for about 5 months and almost died at the time. And excuse me, I just drank a root beer. So I was... and they kept communicating with me. I was like, well, I want to. It's just not a good time because I'm working. She's in the hospital, blah, blah, blah. Well, then, so literally a year ago this month, I got into a Facebook group with other women entrepreneurs. And I said, hey, do y'all know of a great self-publishing company? And right away, somebody connected me to somebody. And I asked them and I said, well, can you give me 2 names and numbers of people I can call so that I can just do some background, make sure you are who you say you are and you do what you say you do. And they did. And one thing led to another, bing, bang, boom. I had it paid for by December of last year, as far as them doing the illustrating, editing, all that jazz, putting it together. Right. So then it was paid for by them, but it wasn't finished until this last month. Okay. So this has literally been 9 months. That's how long it takes to grow a baby and deliver it. So this is my baby.
So yeah, I mean, we usually have, people that are listening that are looking to be children's book. They have a book and stuff like that. So talk a bit about that step that you kind of said. Let's still dive a little bit more into that. So you decided to kind of help find what did this self-publishing company kind of help you out with?
Yeah, they can help you out with, because they have illustrators.
Okay.
And so they will do the editing. Like, all I really sent them was like, it wasn't even a PDF file. I don't think it may have been I made a PDF file and sent it to them. So, but now you don't have to do it that way. You can already have your own illustrators and have it illustrated and already edit it and all that jazz, and just send it to them and say, hey, I need you to get it printed. So there's different ways of going about it with different self-publishing companies. But the thing with the self-publishing and why I chose it is because it gives you more control. It gives you all the control, actually. Once they're finished with it, it's all yours. You handle it the way you want to. You get the profit. You don't have to worry about somebody else getting a percentage of it.
Right.
So that's why I chose that. But they're really good to work with.
Okay. And so were you able to choose the illustrator, or how did that work?
No, what they asked me was, they said, what is your interest of illustration? Like, give us some examples of different children's books that you like how the illustrations are. So I like big and bold and bright colors. And so I sent them a few examples. And so then they started off with just a sketch, just a pencil sketch, and of the figure of the girl. And to add to the story, I actually asked my daughter-in-law to give me, her and my son, the one that has, this podcast room. They have been married now for a little over a year, and they're not giving me any grandkids yet. I have no grandkids yet. They're going to wait a few years, which is smart. And so I asked her to be involved with it, in the fact of, I wanted her to pick out, Miriam is the name of the little girl. I wanted her to pick out her name and her look. So she gave her the little red braided look, and she picked out her name. Yeah. Wow.
And so how long did it go from the fact that, did you have to sign a contract and things like that? And how did that work? Those steps?
Yeah, I think so. We did everything by email.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And now they did warn me. They said, hey, it can take several months, since we're the ones doing the illustrating and all that kind of stuff. So I think it was like $1,000 for the illustrator, which I know some people pay $2,000 and $3,000.
Right.
So, but they were really good to work with, and they were patient with me, and I was patient with them. And it just took, because we had to keep going back and forth. Like, I was in the book, it actually says that the mama's eyes are blue. And then I noticed that they gave her brown eyes. I was like, guys, it says blue. We got to do blue. And then, just fixing different things back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, trying to make sure, it looks right and sounds right and all that.
Right. So talk to us a bit about, so how did you, what were some of the challenges you had as when you kind of said, all right, I'm going to make this book, I'm going to sit down and do it. What were some of the things you learned along the way on writing a children's book that you were kind of surprised about that you didn't know before?
I don't know. Because I'm a kid at heart, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
My kids say I'm extra.
Yeah.
So, and I'm real ADHD. And those are the people who are the most creative, the ADHD people. Yeah. But the challenge for me, like I said, was making it rhyme. And once I had gotten connected with this self-publishing company, I asked her, I said, I already have 2 other kids' books in my mind that I want to write. I said, do they need to rhyme? Do they have to rhyme? And what I meant by do they need to or have to is, will they sell better? And she's like, oh, no, you'd be surprised. They don't have to. I was like, thank God. I can naturally rhyme off the top of my head, but doing it in a way that's vernacular for children to understand is a totally different thing.
Right. And then how many, and like, for instance, like, did you say, all right, it needs to be X amount of pages long, it has to have X amount of words, or any of these things, or was it kind of naturally, you kind of knew that from?
No, you actually do need to know something about that, because I had spoke with someone several years ago, and then actually just went to, different bookstores and sat and looked through children's books, to learn from other people and see kind of like how they do it. And so usually I think most children's books are between 25 to 35 pages. And I think mine has 33 pages. Now that's including writing and illustrating. And that's something I learned along the way too, because some people will put their pictures and their illustration on the same page. And that's cool. But mine, I just wanted my picture so big and in your face that the words are on one side and the picture's on the other side.
Mm. And so was that like, that was a deliberate design that you wanted to have that?
Yes.
So
Yes. I may do it different next time, but for this first one, I really didn't want to do it that way.
Okay. So what's the kind of like the lesson? Because they always talk about children's books got to have some sort of lesson to it. What's that lesson that you want the children to take home for Two Girls in Pajamas for their mamas?
Oh my gosh, this book, I really want to get it in the hands of every grandparent, every grandmother, every grandchild, because it is about family relationships. And, you know, us going through this horrible pandemic and some of it still lingering on for the last year and a half, you know, a lot of grandparents and grandchildren didn't get together. You know, they may have got to FaceTime or whatever. And there's some grandparents that are really close, have a close bond with their grandkids. Right. So this is about something like that, and where a sad situation comes about. And the little girl, Miriam, she just gets a great idea of how we can make this better. Right. And so she gets an idea and tells it to her mom. And she's like, yeah, I think we can do that. And she calls her grandma and tells her and stuff. And so, yeah, so that is the whole, the power of the story really is about a bond between a grandmother and a grandchild. And I can't really relate to this personally. Now, I had grandparents, and they were good grandparents, but I didn't live near any of them. Right. Like I said, I was raised in East Texas, and my dad's parents lived all the way up, literally 9 hours from us in the same state, because Texas is huge, in the Panhandle in Amarillo. And my mother's parents lived here in Alabama. So I didn't get to have a good, you know, close bond. And so this is just my imagination of, you know, what a good grandparent, a granddaughter, what it could look like.
And so what were some of the, because you said you have 2 ideas that you're writing about now. So what are the as you're kind of scripting out these next 2 books, what are the things that you've kind of learned from this process that's going to make writing the next one easier?
I've learned so much. Just within literally the last month, I learned about Canva. Never heard of Canva. And so now I've been making up like my own bookmarkers that I'm going to have at my book launch and stuff. And I needed to make up like a big tall thing, you know, on a stand that says meet the author and all that. And I was getting so aggravated. I couldn't do it. I don't know. I'm not tech savvy. And so my son that was here that helped me get this set up, I said, will you please help me have patience with your mother and please help me do this? So he did. And then today I sat and just kept playing with it and moving stuff. And I had so much fun. So I was able to make a couple of things for myself. And so that's one thing. People who get into children's books, if you want to self-publish and stuff, you need to be educated on so many different websites and apps that I was not aware of. Canva's one, I guess Photoshop. And also I learned about how I would do it different next time. Is I'm not saying I'm going to, but I've been thinking about processing. I may do it this way just so I can get it done a little bit quicker. Is that Fiverr? You know about Fiverr.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't know about Fiverr.
Yeah.
So I may use Fiverr to get, you know, somebody to an illustrator and maybe even edit. So, yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So talk about the editing piece of it. That's a good point. So with the company, did they do all the editing for you, or
yes,
were you supposed to do that ahead of time? Okay.
Mm-hmm. They did. They did a great job.
Right.
Now there was one thing like at the last minute, like they had it, the proof book printed out, right? And they got a copy and I got a copy, and I noticed one thing. I was like, oh, if moms who are teachers get this book, I'll never hear the end of it. Because what it was in the very last page, it actually says the title of the book, or just 2 girls in pajamas for our mamas. Mm-hmm. And the word pajamas had an apostrophe in it. And it wasn't supposed to be just the mama. So I was like, we've got to fix this. So they did some editing and I did too, so we made a good team. We balanced each other out.
And so how much did you kind of, as you said, like, how much were they involved in you in the sense of like the font or the placement of words or any of that stuff?
Yeah, they let me be very hands-on, and they would send me just like a little blurb or something, say, what do you think about this? Do you like this? And I would tell them, no, that I really don't care for that. And also they ask about, doing some of the words in color, because some of them are in color, like different colors in the sentence. And so, yeah, that was they communicated very well with me as far as asking me, do you like this style? Do you want it bigger? Do you want it smaller? Even to the point asking me, did I want the words on the same page and whatnot?
Right. Okay. Wow. And so because of that also too, just from a book perspective, it's, if you're having the words on a different page as the image, it actually makes the book, larger as well. Correct.
Yeah. It comes alive. Cause I could imagine myself sitting in a, summer program at a public library or preschool, sitting there reading it, and it's really big. And so they can see it, sitting a bit of a ways off.
Right. And so I'm kind of curious about that. Is there, from a design perspective, do they say when you open up the book that should the word, if you decide to do words and images, is the image on the left or the right, or does it matter? The words on the left or the right, does that matter?
That's a good question. Wait a minute, I'm looking right here. I didn't even think about that. Let's see. Right here, see?
Okay.
So right here, the words on the left and the pictures on the right.
Okay.
And yeah, it's consistent throughout the whole book.
Okay.
That's cool to think. I never thought about that.
Hey folks, I just wanted to take a quick break and say thank you so much for listening and watching Storycomic Presents, where we interview amazing storytellers and artists. If you can, please subscribe. If you can, hit the like button. Go ahead and leave a review on your favorite podcast app that you might be listening to this on. And remember, always, always support local artists, support local writers, support independent creators. It sure does mean a lot to them. And we will be here at Storycomic to make sure that their voices are being heard. Thank you. With the other two books, are you looking at working, going through a self-publishing agency, or you feel good with, kind of like you said, you mentioned Fiverr and some of their stuff. Is that you're looking at maybe doing it?
Yeah, I'll still probably use a self-publishing agency, and I'll probably use them again because they're really good, and they're very upstanding, ethical people. And but I will probably go ahead and have it put together myself and have it already edited and published and all that. And, it being a PDF file or a source file or something, and then just send it to them and they can get it put together in 40 days or less.
Okay. All right. And so in a way, is it like how the contract works? It's more cost effective to do it that way as well, or?
Yes. Okay. I'm sure it will be. I haven't ventured into finding out how much it would be, but yeah, because it, let's see, it's probably, I think, if I remember correctly, don't quote, maybe $3,400 to get it done. But that's the editing. And then when they had to change a color on something, they didn't come back and say, well, it's going to be an extra whatever, it was just one flat rate for doing it all. So that's good.
Right. What would be some of the advice that you would give to children's book authors that you learned ahead of time that you're implementing in the next couple of books?
My goodness. I need to write a book about that, because we're just so much. It's like I said, some of these things that you're not aware of, like the Canva where you can make up your own stuff. You can probably even make up your own illustrations on there. Yeah, you can. I've seen on there where you can do that. But my advice would be to just be patient and not set your standards or your expectations for yourself, not for others, but for yourself, so high. Just to enjoy the process instead of stress the process. Just enjoy it and let it happen. And give yourself some room to mess up, and also to not try to do it all on your own and do everything on your own. Allow other people to help you. Like I didn't even want to call my son to ask him for help. I was going to pay somebody $100 to make me up a little thing. And my husband's like, no, call your son. So that'd be, yeah. It's like, you don't bother other people with your stuff, but that'd be part of my advice. Allow other people to help you, and you may even have to ask for the help. If they don't offer, you may have to ask for it. And it's okay to do that, to lean on other people when you need it.
Right. And so, with the idea that you talked about with two girls in pajamas for their mamas, I got to say it right.
Yeah.
So what were some of the things that they brought you mentioned the eye color piece, kind of being, you kind of like facilitating, kind of being in charge of this team to make sure this happens. What were some of the things they brought to you for ideas, and you're like, not even close? Like what were some of the
my stars. I know too, right off the bat. Bless his heart. I don't know who the illustrator was. I really do not know, because I think they kept saying he. So I'll say he. But whenever he was doing, see that chair she's sitting in that clip you got right there?
Right.
Originally he had the chair looking like a dadgum lawn chair. I'm like, seriously? Because she's like in a retirement home. You're not going to sit in a lawn chair, not in your bedroom, maybe outside. And so that was one thing. And another thing was when the illustrator made the whatever it was supposed to be a walker. You know what a walker is that old people walk with? And I'm like, look, I'm a physical therapist for a living. Tell him he better go do some research, Google it. This is not a walker. You got to do better than this. And then there's little things, because my mother said I was an analytical nut. So I overanalyze some things and look at things. So like, for instance, there was one picture where they're in the car and I'm like, they don't have seatbelts on. People are going to think this is a microaggression. We better get seatbelts on. So, because every little aspect, matters. And you want to teach kids that too. Hey, that might be a subliminal thing. Hey, they're wearing their seatbelts. I'll wear mine too. It's a good thing to teach kids. Right. So there's a lot of different things, that would come about, and like, let's change this. Let's fix this. Like, for instance, the little girl's hair wasn't red enough for me at first. It was more of a brown, dark auburn. I was like, no, I want it fire red. And I sent him a picture of another little character I had seen. And I was like, let's make it this red. Right. So, so it's a very tedious process. It takes a long time to get the way you want it.
Mm. Now, are you looking for your other books to have the same illustrator, or are you looking for something different?
No, like I said, because I use their editing and their illustration, and I don't have any complaints about that, but I want to use my own. I probably will go through Fiverr, or I'm actually in a bunch of Facebook groups now too, that I just became aware of in the last couple of months, of other authors and children's book authors. And there's several illustrators in those, and they'll put up their work sometimes, and I'll screenshot them and say, hey, to myself, I'll say, hey, make a mental note of this, save this picture, this screenshot in a file somewhere, because I may want to use them in the future. Okay.
And from an author perspective, is there a specific, like a feel to it when you have a different illustrator from another one, that it's specific to say, all right, this is a different story, this is a completely different book, this is not connected to two girls in pajamas with their mom?
Yeah, some people do series, and I might do that in the future, but my next one's not going to be anything about them. It's going to be about a little boy.
Okay.
Yep.
And are you going to be, I always like asking this question, are you going to have your illustrator put a little bit of, maybe some little Easter eggs, or little hints to your readers, to say, oh, like, are you going to have like pajamas in the background, or?
Oh no, not my next one. No. No. Mm-mm. It's going to be totally separate, and it'll be geared to little boys. We'll be geared to everybody.
Right.
Try not to give away, but it's going to be super, super, super great.
Okay.
And, and this element of it, well, I'll give a little bit. That way it'll get people excited. Maybe when I actually do a Kickstarter next time, because right now I really need people to go help me on my Kickstarter. I only have like 6 days left.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I got like $2,500 to go on it.
Okay.
So anyway, and that took me 2 weeks to get that thing put together. It's like putting together a website. When you're not tech savvy, it's like, but anyway, but no, okay, I'll get a giveaway just a little bit, get people interested. But so my next book is about a little boy who has cancer and overcomes cancer with the help of his pet, his dog. And I already have a name for it. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So let me go ahead. Oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
So like in this book, the aspect is a strong relationship and a bond between a grandmother and her grandchild. And the next one, it will be the theme, and the main aspect is, how a little boy can overcome a horrible sickness and how he has the love of his pet to help him.
So and you're gonna do that as a Kickstarter as well, then, as you said?
I probably will. I'll either do that or Indiegogo. Because see, here's how, and I just became familiar with these two too. And this is advice I'd give to future authors or self-publishers of children's books, is that I would say, check into the different, they're called crowdfunding sources. So right. Indiegogo, how they work a little bit different is Indiegogo will, when you set it up with them, and of course, whatever company you use, whether it's Indiegogo or Kickstarter, they have their fees and all that jazz too. And if some people on here don't know what crowdfunding is, or Indiegogo or Kickstarter, it's where you're doing a project. And that picture you're showing there is a lady in our church, and all of her little children, she's reading to them. Those are all hers, and she's an excellent mom. Yeah, they loved it. But anyway, so what it is with Kickstarter is you set a certain amount you need to raise, and people make pledges. That's what it's called, a pledge. And they can pick out a reward depending on how much they pledge. But the thing with Kickstarter is by the end of your campaign, if you do not raise all of it, you don't get any of it. It's an all or nothing situation. So, yeah. So, but with Indiegogo, it's just the opposite. Whatever you raise, even if you don't meet your goal, you get it. And see, people aren't, like if they make a pledge today, they do not get charged on their card until the end of the campaign.
Right.
So if I meet my goal at the end of the campaign, then they will be charged. But if I don't meet my goal, no one gets charged.
Right. So let's talk a bit about your Kickstarter. So as I said, you're looking at it, you've backed 6 Kickstarters before, so you're not unfamiliar with Kickstarter, which is good. You have on here, you have your basic. So you have, for $15, you'll be able to get the ebook for it and the paperback copy. Which is a great price, because you get a digital version of it and that for $15. So that's a really good price, and free shipping. So
yeah, free shipping anywhere in the United States. So I eat that.
Right. Wow. And so then you have your and I like your
the titles.
The titles, yeah. Yeah. You got Miriam's offer, then Mama's offer, and then Mama's offer. That's cool.
Yeah. Go on down and you'll see one that's really funny, a title.
Family offer, for me and my sick friends, teacher's bundle, everybody and his brother offer.
That one, everybody and his brother.
So you got then you got Mama's, which is a hardback copy of it, signed by the author.
Yes.
And that you can't find a better deal on that. Like I said, if you're going to the bookstore, so that's a really good price. And then
you get more than just the hard copy. You get other things in that too. So
then you get the digital ebook as well, and free shipping as well. Yeah. Ship anywhere in the world. Wow. Okay.
Now, anywhere in the world, it does charge. There is a charge.
Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, that's right. Free shipping in the U.S. And then Mama's is, and this is where you get the coloring book that we talked about too. The coloring book and activity book, paperback copy. And so, what is for the coloring activity book? Is that mostly for, say, for the kids? But is there like an educational component for that?
Well, it's really a lot of fun, and I'm going to give them way much credit because the self-publishing company actually came up with this themselves. Wow, okay. And if I'm not mistaken, I think the one that was my that I communicated with, I guess you call it my case handler or whatever. Her name is Jonna, and I think she's the one that came up with that idea. And so, like, one page is coloring, another page may be a word word search, another page may be it's got a picture of the little girl at one end and the grandma at the other, and it's a maze, and you got to follow it through. So it does use your brain some, but it's fun at the same time. So it's got coloring and activities in it.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah,
it's nice. And then you have the pledge of the family offer, which is all three.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you get the coloring activity book, the hard copy signed by author, a paperback copy, and the digital ebook too. So yeah, that's another. So
see, the more you pledge, the more rewards you get.
Right. Yeah. And then so and this is good that you hear on this one. You actually you're able to, for this, you will donate a hardback cover and a paperback to St. Jude's Children's Hospital.
Yes. St. Jude's is really my heart. I mean, I've loved St. Jude's Children's Hospital for years. And then I think the next one I'm writing about too really is next to my heart because, St. Jude's takes care of cancer kids, a lot of them.
Right.
But, and there's something on they're called an add-on where you can click an add-on where you can get, if I'm not mistaken, I designed it this way, where if you click an add-on, you can get one for not just for yourself, but you can get one to donate to St. Jude's.
Oh, wow. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then you have the teacher's bundle where you have 2 author signed books. Oh, and 15 coloring books.
Yeah.
Activity books. Wow. Yeah. So where'd you come up with that idea anyway, then, Rhonda?
I don't know. Well, now I will say I did my research and I kind of looked at a bunch of other people so I could learn from them. And that's a smart thing to do. Right. But now, as far as that certain package, I just thought that would be neat. I thought if I was a teacher, if I was a little kid, what would I want?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And I think in that one too is one where I will drive anywhere within a 200-mile range and read it myself there to their kids.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Oh. Okay. And then you have the everybody and his brother offer, where it's the. So this is the one where you would read it, right?
Okay, that may be it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yep. And then you have the St. Jude's Children's Hospital offer, where it's 5 hardback copies, 5 paperback copies, 5 signed hard copies to St. Jude's, and 10 coloring activity books. Wow. Okay. Mm-hmm. Cool. And you had some early bird ones, looks like, right? Is that?
I don't know.
Because you have an all gone. I am Miriam offer.
Oh, that's the one that's limited. Yes, that's just one.
Okay. All right.
They can dress up like Miriam in the little pajama housecoat thing, right? Because I got a lady that is making one because she actually made one. She offered to make one for me in my size.
Okay.
And yeah, she's real sweet. She goes to our church. She's actually the grandma of the lady you saw the reading to all of her children.
Right.
It's her mom.
Okay.
So, but I'm going to pay her to make the one for the little girls. But yeah, the pajamas they're wearing, the housecoat. So when I go read somewhere, I'm going to have the pajama that looks like theirs, the housecoat that looks like theirs. And I actually have me some little earrings made up from Etsy that has the little girl Miriam on it.
Really?
So,
oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I'm real creative. I always go all out with anything I do. So,
and is that could be an add-on too, right? To have the earrings or? Yeah.
Well, no, they're kind of expensive. I got those just for me. If I could find someone that could make them at a decent price, I would get them in a bundle and sell them. Yeah, that's for sure.
Okay. Wow, that's great. And so, so with that, with your Kickstarter in place, it's. So you got 6 days to go. So it's
yeah.
Yeah.
And I really push it because I mean, I don't just push it for myself because, I mean, I really believe in the story and the theme of it too.
Right.
You know, if you don't believe in your product, you don't need to push it. But not only that, but I go and donate and make pledges for other people's Kickstarters too, to help other people out. Like 2 weeks ago, I just got on there and said, hey, who needs their Kickstarter back? Let me know. And if I really like your story, you know, I'll back you. So I'm one of those that believes in, you know, help others and others will help you.
Right. Exactly. And also too, the other benefit of it is like, it's a really good story too. And
exactly.
Yeah. And like you're saying, so, I'm excited I'm excited for you. I think this is going to be, like you said, because it's the book. It tells a good story. It's about yeah, as you said, a relationship between grandparents and grandchildren. And you know, and as you say, it's like, especially with this, as you say, for what we've been going through over the past year and a half or so, we really kind of realize that family and those connections are the things that mean the most.
Exactly. So, exactly.
And as you kind of talked about it before, like that relationship piece, what would you say also is that you want there to be and you talked about like the relationship is important and stuff, but is like, what would be that specific lesson? Like, is there like not like a theme,
don't take relationships or grandparents, you know, for granted. You know, and I know a lot of kids when they get older as teenagers, you know, they start to wean away because they're doing their own teenage thing or whatever. But like, you know, you just never know what's going to happen. I would say part of the lesson is just try to bond in family relationships as much as you can. You know, lay down the phone, play a board game, do things like that. Because I did that with my kids. That was the lesson I taught my kids. I always wanted them, because me and my brother love each other, but we're not very close. So I thought when they were little, how can I get my kids to bond together so that when they grow up, they'll be close. So we would have game night, one night a week, family night. No TV, no phones. Everybody eats at the family dinner table, and we play a family board game. And what's funny is the majority of the time, my kids would want to play I Spy. And I'm like, simple little I Spy. All these board games. But anyway, so I think, you know, finding ways to find time to build relationships with your family is very important.
Right. Yeah, it's so true. And it's like, you know, really at the end of the day, it's, you know, at the end of it, it's your relationships that matter. It's not anything else.
Yeah. And say, I mentioned earlier while I was trying to entertain everybody while you were gone, because I saw on the top the clock was still ticking. So I thought, okay. But I talked about my mother. I have a picture and it's dedicated to her in the front of the book of she and I, we have our pajamas on together, Christmas pajamas. And as a surprise, I was dedicating this book to her. Well, she didn't know about it and she passed away June 14th. So it's been really, really hard. I'm just like, how is a girl supposed to live without her mama? That's why, you know, this book is really important to me too. Just build relationships and because like just simple things. Like I wanted to call her the other day and say, do you put onions in your mashed potatoes? Or I know your potato salad, you know, just different things you want to learn life lessons from, like sit down and say, you know, ask their grandparents, you know, this is my mom, but I'm talking about as far as the book, you know, they can ask them like, what was life like for you? And you can teach life lessons just sitting and chatting, you know.
Right.
But anyway, so I said, I'm sure she's still looking down from above and she knows I dedicated it to her. So.
Right. That's touch. Yeah. And it's true. Cause you don't know. I mean, as you say, like tomorrow's never guaranteed for anyone. So, and then,
and since she's passed, I'm just like, I'm ready to sell my house, sell everything. And just me and my husband live in a little RV because I have no parents. I have no grandparents. So we spend time together and I'm like, stuff just don't matter anymore to me, you know, because you realize your loved ones are your biggest treasure. Stuff is just stuff. You can't take it to the grave with you, you know?
Yeah. And I think we learned that too over this past several months is like, you had stuff, but you know, you can't be around anyone. So it was really hard. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so I got to say, so you got another backer so far while we've been talking. So
yay.
And so where can people, if they want to learn more about and kind of follow you more, Rhonda, where can they go?
Well, I don't actually have a website yet.
Okay.
And I was debating about if I should get one. I've asked other, children's book authors, what is the importance of it? They said they like to have one, which I may get one eventually, but they said they like to have it so they can track their autographed copies, because that's the only way they get an autographed copy. But they can follow me at on the Amazon, because when I write other books, it'll be on there. And I actually have, it says follow this author. There'll be a picture of me down there. See down there in the left-hand corner?
Yeah.
Right there. And you can follow the author. And so I can update stuff in there and say, when my website comes out and stuff.
Right. Okay. Perfect. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Rhonda. This has been fun. Well, despite the little glitch. And come back when you write your next book as well.
Absolutely. I'm glad you invited me. I really enjoyed it. I was a little nervous. I've never done a podcast. And I didn't know it was going to be on camera. I thought it was just microphones. And so my son's like, there's a camera. He's like, no, I look like crap. But it's fun. It's a lot of fun. I appreciate it. You made me feel comfortable.
All right. Yeah. And good luck for the rest of your Kickstarter.
Thank you. I need it. This is actually my son's podcast room. And he's like, Mom, your computer is crap. So come use my computer and use my podcast room and my microphones. Him and his buddies have a podcast for fantasy football.
Oh, cool. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, this is actually a small room that they use at the church. My son is full-time staff on the church at the church. Yeah, that's right. I said that right. Anyway, and they had this little room they were doing at his house, and then they moved it here. And so they put this stuff up to kind of absorb sound because it's concrete floor and walls and stuff. So, yeah.
Wow. Okay. So he'd be impressed. Your son would be impressed. I actually have that cheap foam stuff on this side. On the other side of the wall to kind of bounce that sound off of. But you do. I mean, I tell you, Rhonda, you said like perfect mic. I tell you, this is
good.
Yeah, this is
I even have this little thing here, and he's like, "No, you don't need that."
You don't need it. I got that too. I think it's called a pop. A pop.
Yeah, he says for when you spit, and I don't think you'll be spitting.
That's good. Look at that son taking care of his mom. That's
he's great.
Yeah,
he's actually the middle child of 3, and the oldest and youngest constantly tell him, say, you'll be the one taking care of mom when she gets old. I think he has the most patience with me because I'm extra. They say I'm extra, so.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm the middle child too, so it is. Maybe it's a middle child thing. Yeah, that'd be good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because usually they say the middle child's the one that acts like a brat and gets the most attention, but him. I guess he got a lot of attention because he said a lot of funny things, but
I saw this funny joke about yesterday. Yeah, yesterday yesterday was National Middle Child Day, but of course nobody noticed.
Missed that.
But then the joke was, of course, nobody noticed.
How funny! Because usually I catch on to that and I'll let him know.
That's funny. So my mother is watching right now too, and she just pointed out that is true. So she's like,